All right, excellent. People are starting to roll in. For those of you who are new to our live events, I am definitely a camera on and microphone on kind of girl. I know Kim is as well. So reveal yourself and let's have a really good conversation today. So I know we've got a few people that we're still letting in, so we'll give it a minute while everybody is getting organized. Seeing some new faces, some friendly faces. This is great. Excellent. Pooja, I missed you. It's been like 6 hours since I've seen you last.
Hi, Tammy. How are you doing?
You're good. You're getting a double dose of Tammy time this week. So that's great. Good to see you. All right, good to see. All right. Well, why don't we go ahead and get started? I know we are at the top of the hour. Kelly is going to keep letting people in, and make sure that you fire up that chat window. So, in that chat window, say, hey, tell me where you're from, how you got here, all that kind of good stuff. So I'm seeing some really familiar faces and some new ones as well. I'm Tammy Alvarez, the creator of the Career Winner Circle, where we empower business leaders to make a big impact and love every Monday morning again. So if you don't love Monday, then you're doing it wrong and we can help. So that's what we're here to talk about today. Now, Kim Woods is our guest speaker for today. She and I immediately fangirled over a conversation we had off of LinkedIn, where all the best relationships start. And for those of you who know me really well, Kim and I come at things from a very different perspective. And so I'm like, this is a great growth opportunity for me. And I think it's a really good opportunity for everybody in the community to get a new perspective and to start to think about things a little bit differently. So Kim is an absolute rock star. She has spent 25 years, we won't go any more than that, that's enough, even if it is more, in the C-suite. She's helped more than 425 business leaders and 300,000 team members really get the most out of their career. She's named Top Female Entrepreneur, Disrupting the Business World in 2022 from Entrepreneur Magazine, and all of the big trade mags love her. Yahoo, ABC, CBS, NBC, Forbes, USA Today, all the good things. So we are bringing in some high caliber talent and a great unique perspective for you guys today. So Kim, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks so much, Tammy. Thanks for that intro. And let's dive right in. I'm going to go ahead and share screen because I have a presentation for you today. And I can move you over to the side. And so again, use the chat if you have a question. We are going to hold, 15 or 20 minutes at the end for all the questions. And this is experiential. So you're going to take away 3 experiential exercises at the end of this hour, which I'm really excited about. But we are going to go through some facts and some stats because I'd like to ground us first and give us an orientation for why it is that I'm going to be talking about what I'm talking about. So we can do a little rooting there. But we're really talking about empowering you so that you can realize your full potential. That's where Tam and I fangirled over each other, right? So we were like, I think our chat was just like nonstop chatting, even though we come at things from very, very different angles, right? So again, today's agenda, we're going to go through some intros of facts and figures. We're going to go through this revolutionary process that we came up with of how you know, like, and trust yourself, which basically turns that marketing and sales philosophy that's been around for decades on its face. Because instead of customers needing to know, like, and trust you, when you know, like, and trust yourself, this is what we're going to go through today. You make better decisions, you have gorgeously connected leadership, and you attract your soulmate environs. So we're going to go through 3 key takeaways and experiential. And then there are 2 gifts, because fangirl on Tammy. So 2 gifts, one of them, which we don't do in a lot of groups. So stay tuned for that, which will be really great. I don't need to introduce myself because Tam did such a great job on that. So I'm just going to go ahead and skip this. And what I do want to go and talk about, which we all know because we're living this, as much as we may try to put ourselves in a bubble or be really selective about how we participate in the world, there still is an overwhelm and burnout. And when you see some of these statistics, the takeaway will be, don't worry, we're not going to leave you there, but the takeaway will be a little bit like, oh, this is the world we live in kind of thing, right? But it's okay, never fear, because we're here. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the fact that we are living in a very high level of stress and burnout. We are living, unfortunately, in a very low power and confidence equation, and we have a tremendous skill gap in leadership. So we want to talk about that from a very factual perspective. Now stay tuned, because the next slide is going to be where Tam and I completely separate on our philosophy.
And before we do that, though, in that chat window, in terms of your level of stress and just absorbing all of the just stuff that's going on in the world, 10 is you're stressed out beyond belief, and 1 is you're a zen as you just got out of a spa. In that chat window, tell me where you guys are right now, from 1 being completely chill and 10 being running around with your hair on fire. So go ahead, Kim. I'm just curious to see the numbers as they come
No
in.
worries. I love that. Driving around with hair on fire. I love that. Right. So, okay. This is where, again, I come at things very differently. I grew up in corporate. I was a leader at Oracle, and then I founded a very traditional business strategy firm that was widely successful. And then my life took a turn. My son was born, and he had significant developmental issues. And so I needed to pull away from my career, and I needed to drop into my intuition to come up with more than just strategies and solutions for him. We actually orchestrated the marriage of Eastern philosophy with Western methods, and we rewired his brain. So he is a typical junior in college now. So that's wonderful. And in the process, I needed to know myself enough to defy the doctor's predictions. I needed to like myself enough to weave these patterns. And I needed to trust myself enough to follow my own inner voice for 8 years before we saw transformative results. It impacted me. It changed my life. It made me realize that the marriage of the Eastern and the Western is something beyond, the transformation results are beyond measure. So I am an astrologer who's a badass business person. And yes, I weave the two. So it is written in the stars. All this era of crisis, the stars are conspiring to create leaders, for us to be the leaders of our own life, whatever that means for you, whether it's your individual well-being, whether it's your family, whether it's your community, or whether it's in your job at work. And so ever since the winter solstice of 2020, we are going to be living almost an inside out life. The feminine energy is here. And what does that mean? Connection, collaboration, engagement, authenticity. We've been seeing it. We've been hearing it for the last handful of years. The way that we do things is going to be slightly different, or materially different, depending on how you want to look at it, than the way we've been doing things before. So I'm going to go through some facts and figures, because we can see that the way that we've been doing things hasn't been working, right? It hasn't been working. We know it. We can just look around the world and see how it hasn't been working. And so this is pre-pandemic. This stat is shocking, because the World Health Organization, before the pandemic, said that burnout was such an occupational phenomenon that they came up with a separate category for it. Tammy, did you know that?
I
didn't know that.
This is new news for me. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this was new for me too. And so I wanted to insert it here because I hadn't run across it in all the stats that I had looked at where people with stress and anxiety. I think it was the search on the word burnout that came up that made it pop. And I thought, this is mind-boggling, because when you look at the stats, you can see why they would have done this, because everything, let me just see if I can move this a little bit. Everything is over 60%. So we have 75% of professionals feel like their relationships are negatively impacted by stress at work. There's like 66% that report higher levels of stress and burnout since the pandemic. So if who had already put that at its own separate category, and now we've only added to it. All we have to do is look at our day-to-day calendar. And I remember last year having so many conversations with my clients about the school day roulette. Are the kids going to be in school? Are they not going to be in school, right? How can that not be stressful for people? Am I going to go into the office? Am I not going to go into the office? When I go into the office, who's going to be there? I don't know who's going to be there. So that uncertainty has added to that stress and burnout figure. But the good news is, when you turn this model of, like, I always look externally, our natural inclination as humans is to connect. So our natural inclination is to look externally. Who am I connecting with? What am I connecting with? Where am I getting my validation? What am I doing? How am I impacting others? When you turn it inside out, you can then literally realize your potential by having more self-awareness. That's where we start, knowing yourself more. And these two clients, literally life-changing. I'll just talk about Susan. When I met her, her son had just died. He was an adult son that had just died, and she was lost. And so we went in and we just recovered her. And now it's only a few years later, she's an author. She's written a book about her experience, and she's speaking and helping other moms, right? So a little bit out of the corporate world, but I just wanted to make that wildly life-changing impact that having that self-reflection piece really lends itself to being life-changing. So what about confidence? I had said stress and burnout is here. And confidence, when we look at it, 75% of women and 60% of men do not feel confident in their ability to do their job.
That's a huge number.
Isn't that huge?
Yeah.
I was shocked. That's in the UK. I then looked and found other evidence that were smaller studies. So that's why I use this stat, but that were the same here in America. So we can be worldwide, right? And then 35% of women are confident enough to follow their passions. Only 35%. And then 75% of female executives experience imposter syndrome. That's where you're not this is where the light comes in, liking yourself enough to understand the power and the confidence that you wield when you enter any situation. Okay, there's a wonderful story that I have. I just had this client yesterday. She's a one-on-one client. She's over in Australia. And when she stepped into her power and stepped into the ability to really delegate from a leadership perspective, it's been significantly changing to her business. She had a successful business, but now she's grown exponentially because she was able to hire at the level that her business required. So Tammy, do you see this with people when they don't feel confident, they tend to underhire, right? They don't hire the skills.
Right. So either way, so I think the less confident a lot of leaders feel, the more they feel like they need to touch everything, just to make sure that, they don't have confidence to be able to recover from setbacks and things like that. So yeah, I absolutely see that too.
Absolutely. So she just literally, we wiped out her entire team, and she just hired executive level people, life-changing. As a matter of fact, yesterday when I talked to her, she was at a beautiful week-long holiday with her husband in Hawaii, and she wasn't micromanaging at all, and she was letting the team run, and she did the quote that I love is, "I feel so supported." I'm like, yes, that is absolutely perfect.
Yep.
That's the ball game. So now when we look at leadership, there is a significant skill gap, and we don't need to read all these words. The key point here is that there are 83% of organizations that believe that their most important thing to do is to develop leaders, and only 5% of businesses are actually doing that. That gap is way too high.
It's insane, right? So
such disconnect.
Yeah. And I'm curious for everybody that's here today, with the companies that you work for, on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being they're killing it and 1 being there's nothing, where are your companies on the leadership development scale? Like, how much support do you get from your companies to be able to grow as leaders? So go ahead and pop that in on the chat window. I'm curious to see how that represents here.
Absolutely.
With the audience that we have.
Yeah, especially since 55% of CEOs feel that their number one challenge is to develop leaders, they're not doing it. Right? If we're looking at 83% of organizations feel like they should, 55% of CEOs feel like it's the number one challenge, and only 5% of businesses are doing it. So yeah, that's a stat that we need to change. And how can we change that? We can lead ourselves. We can step into our full potential. We can realize our power, and we can confidently grow ourselves within an organization, because there's a lot of ways to do it that may not seem evident. But I'm sure Tam has a lot of, solutions, in that she gives you a lot of information on this. But there's a book publisher that we have that's a one-on-one client as well. And for her, she would walk into a collaborative event, whether it's a conference or a speaking engagement, and she'd always put herself in like the student role. What can I learn here, right? What can my key takeaways be? Because I'm investing my time and I'm investing my resource. What can I learn? And we switched her ability to be able to look at, wait, but what are you bringing to the table, right? right? Like, because you're the investment, not necessarily the fact that you're investing in this trade show or conference. You're the investment when you walk in the room. What can you do about collaborating with people, and what can you do? She is a CEO she's an entrepreneur, about gathering people that you can work with. It's been life-changing for her. She's gone, like, her growth is just vertical, which is really wonderful. And for her, it was really about trusting that she had something to bring to the table. So what does all this mean? We want to overcome uncertainty and overwhelm. So being calm and decisive and being inspired and energized. And then we want to instill confidence to empower others, but first we must step into our own power. And then that way, when we come from that power position, we can empathize and connect in a way that doesn't feel eroding, and it doesn't feel competitive, and it doesn't feel like we're going to be missing out on anything. And then we want to lead with skill and authority. And that really means to know your value. I always say to wear it, and to be able to develop that talent to accept support and fully receive it, as well as take advantage of opportunities. Okay, anybody have any questions? We're good. We're just all like just receiving. Yeah, okay. Okay, so when you step into your power and when you know, like, and trust yourself, it changes the orientation of how you enter every single day. Tammy likes to say, you wake up on Monday morning and you're inspired, right? You're not defeated. You end the day probably more energized than when you begin it. I know for sure. I've lived it myself. I have a team now. There are 7 of us, and we're transforming, business leaders' lives all over the place. Because when you invert it, you make better decisions, as I said before. You know your purpose and you're aligned with it. You step into your power and you are able to come into connections and collaborations fully yourself. So they're much smoother. There's no second guessing, there's no doubt, there's no fear there, and you're more at ease with your choices. You walk away from a situation, you're fully present while you're in it, and then you walk away from it and you leave it. You're not second guessing. You're not like, what I could have, should have, right? There's none of that stuff going on. So the answer to this is to calm, decisiveness, connected, value. It's all about, do you know, like, and trust yourself? So let me just talk a little bit about the process before we go in and do 3 exercises, right? And I think time-wise, we're doing really well, right?
You guys think we're great. Yep.
Yeah, I talk really fast. I'm from Boston. It just happens. I'm sorry. Okay, so the know, like, and trust yourself process, we're going to talk about it from, being able to fully accept your uniqueness. What if I were to tell you that there was only one, like, unique star signature for everybody every 25,000 years? So of the 8 billion people on the planet, every single person is unique. What if you own that uniqueness and really embrace it and come into your world knowing fully who you are and tapping into your, what is it? Intuition and instinct, right? We're going to talk about that. That's going to be the first exercise. And you can really know your brilliance and come into your true life purpose. And when you do, that's when everything aligns for you and you're in the flow. When you claim your power, you then think about your dreams about impact that you want to make and how you want to leave your mark. You can dynamically change the way you are with others. When you trust yourself, that's the money shot. When you can go into your boss and ask for a big ass promotion or a raise, or, really attracting your soulmate people in those environments so that you're realizing your full potential. This works. We have so many, thousands of unsolicited amounts of testimony here from people. So do you know, like, and trust yourself? This is where intuition meets success. This is where if I were to tell you to develop your intuition and just be like, go away and go figure out how to do that, you might run across some breath techniques. You might run across some yoga, and you might decide meditation is a good idea. Those 3 things are excellent. And I would tell you, for most of society, they're not in the mode of that. Think about all the energy you're generating throughout the day, and then all of a sudden to go and to massively shift. This is why we have that process that is much more practical, and it helps you step in ways that help you be more certain, be more discerning, and more decisive. Then if you think about how you are with other people, how those interactions go. Do you like to be with big groups? Do you not like to be with big groups? Do you like to be one-on-one with people? Do you prefer to be without the camera on versus the camera on, right? That's how you connect. The more satisfied and empowered and poised you are, you can then decide much more from a place of authority than a reaction. And then that trusting piece, that is really, when you fully trust yourself, just imagine for 1 minute trusting every single thing that happens and that you make happen. Can you imagine the ease that that creates and the joy that you can bring in and the growth that you can experience? It's life-changing. So let's get to the first exercise. Who's ready to do an exercise? Let me just bring you guys over here.
I love exercises.
Right? Experiences.
Yeah.
So blah, blah, blah. I tried to talk really fast. I did it in 21 minutes. I think I did my job, right? So now we get to have fun.
Yeah, hopefully, and they're used to me talking fast anyway. So I think most people are used to hanging on for dear life. So yeah, let's put this into action. Everybody's at, midday. I want you to leave here more energized than you came. So what do you have for us?
Absolutely. Okay. So I've set us up for a lot, right? So I've said, when you know yourself better, you can make smarter decisions. You can commit to those decisions. You don't second guess them. Okay. What does this require? This requires you to listen to your instincts. All right. So I'm going to throw one out for the chat. Who here feels like they are very instinctive and very intuitive? And that would be a 5 versus instinct. What? Maybe, sort of, kind of, that would be a 1. So between 1 and 5, where do you think you are? Okay, we've got a lot of people who feel like, yeah, we've got this. We got some major mojo in here. Okay, all right, so perfect. Okay, so this exercise, I can press it a little bit further then, but I want to start with instinct. Instinct is your gateway to intuition. It is. But when people say gut instinct, that's a misnomer. Most of us don't feel it in our gut. So we're going to go through an exercise, you're going to actually feel it in your body. So if you think about that, instinct is the gateway. So instinct basically is a yes or a no. Instinct is fight or flight. It's your body's response to a circumstance, right? So, should I stay? Should I go? Should I get on that elevator? Should I not get on that elevator? Should I get in that car? Should I not get in that car? It doesn't have to be fraught, though. It could be, should I take this job? Should I not take this job, right? Should I hire this person? Should I not hire this person? But those are much more impactful, right, decisions that you're making, right? So going on that initial gut instinct or that initial instinct, you want to really know how that works for you in your body, because that's one part of being really decisive and discerning. So let's go ahead and do the exercise, then I'll go through the next 2 parts. So the exercise, here's what I want you to do. I want you, we're going to close our eyes. Yes, we are, just for a second, right? And then what we're going to do is I'm going to have you feel a yes in your body and a no in your body, okay? So first what we want to do is put your hands on your body, anywhere you want, and just close your eyes, take a deep breath. I've been talking a lot, let the words just float around, let them just dissipate. I want you to just get connected to you, and I want you to say to yourself, my name is Alfred. And I want you to feel in your body how your body responded. Could do another one. My name is Snagglemore. Now, a lot of people feel it like in their jaw, it tightens. They can feel like their hands getting a little hotter. They can feel the back of their neck, or they can feel their shoulders tighten, or they can feel their hips react. Some people do feel gut instinct. But let's do one more. My name is Henrietta. And now I want you to do my name and say your name. Say your actual name to yourself. So for me, my name is Kim. Now, who here felt a difference? Tammy, did you feel a difference?
A little bit, yeah, I think I did.
Yeah, right? It takes practice. It takes practice.
Made me snicker, so I was just like,
yeah, I know. Well, I did two less common names, right? And then I did one ridiculous one just to kind of relieve the energy, right? So Kelly, did you feel anything?
I did.
Yeah, a little difference. Where did you feel it?
Um, Generally, like kind of like down my spine, either kind of in a downward motion or an upward motion.
Okay. All right. So now do you know, have you experienced your intuition, your instinct before and allowed it to play? And did you ever notice where you experienced your instinct in your body?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, Stephanie, where did you feel it?
I felt it around my throat,
Okay.
just like here, as if I couldn't have said it out loud myself,
Right.
so because it just felt untrue.
Yeah, it just caught, right? That's perfect. Does anybody else want to go where they felt it? You don't have to. Okay, we've got silence. But this is really informative. This is your body telling you when something is true or not true. Because here's the thing, our minds will rationalize anything. That's their job. They are computer processors. They will find a solution. They will solve a problem. They will resolve whatever it is that we're thinking that we want to resolve, right? So do you ever notice when you may have had that gut instinct, or instinct of something happening? And for me, a lot of times, I'm an entrepreneur. So on a sales call, I will know in that first second whether I want to work with somebody or not. And I go with it. I'm going to do a double negative. I never not listen to it now. I always listen to it. So, and why is that? Well, I've had a lot of practice doing this, right? So I will tell you, bar none, if I ever dismiss that initial instinct when it's a no, invariably it ends up being the most complicated relationship. Something happens and it just doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Because my instinct knew.
And Kim, there's a question in the chat window too. What happens if you didn't feel a discernible difference?
Yeah, if you didn't feel a discernible difference, you're going to want to practice this 1 or 2 times and really go in and quiet yourself a little bit more, because what you typically will feel, they'll feel some sort of restriction in the no. There'll be a tightening somewhere. And typically the yes is either nothing or there's a little bit of ease. So these are nuanced. This is the thing. This is very nuanced. That's why we need to practice. That's why people do say meditate, breathe, do yoga, but we try to find more active ways, right? This is where if anybody wants to use like oracle cards or use someone who is an oracle, you can do that too. I make probably 15 handfuls of decisions with clients during the week, just because I just can go into the energy and know, right? So this is definitely something that is very helpful for you, because I bet we all have a story of a scenario where we didn't listen to that nudge or that whisper. Tammy, can you think of a situation where you didn't nudge or whisper?
A million, yes. And they never end well, right? So I call it senses.
Right, 100%. Spidey senses. I love that. It's your spidey senses. Exactly. And that's where just noticing the tingles, right? And noticing those little your antenna went up for a reason, but listening to it. Because that's the thing. Instinct is going to be a yes or no. It's the intuition that's going to you can start having a conversation with. You can start asking bigger questions of it. That's why I say practice with the instinct first, those yes or no, those questions, because they help you open to using your intuition more. Because go ahead.
I was going to say, I do a lot of leadership assessments with my clients, and, judgment and how people make decisions, instinct versus fact is one of the things that we look at. And without exception, everyone slants towards intuition, because I think humans are, are more instinctive. But as leaders and as, people who have chosen the corporate world, we've trained ourselves not to listen to the instincts, because there's got to be data behind it.
Right.
And, and so it's really interesting, because people really think that they are factual decision makers. And the reality is, like you said before, the brain can rationalize anything. So your instincts make that initial call, and then you're looking for that data to either confirm or refute that initial. But we're trained to ignore the instinct, I think.
Exactly. This is
And
why
that's really where
marriage-
you may not have that feeling because you lost touch with where that is.
Absolutely. And this is why the marriage of it is practical and the intuitive, because it's the blending of the two that allows you to have the more impactful, especially decision making as leaders, right? So the other thing that you can do is you always enter a situation, say you listen to your instinct, but you didn't listen to your instinct, right? That's at the first gate. The second one would be, what are you willing to do and what are you not willing to do? Right? Because that's a better question to ask. Here's the thing with the mind is always going to be seeking answers. So it's all in asking the right question, right? So these next two are really questions, right? So what am I willing to do? What am I not willing to do? Depending on that answer, that could help give you a better decision-making process. And the other part of it is the weight and longevity mind. And we ask people when we talk about decision making, like, how do they assess a decision about posting something on Instagram versus hiring somebody? Invariably, people go through the same. Going to last a day, if that, and I don't know how many people are going to look at it. The other one is going to really impact, and then a hire is a long impact decision. So we have this matrix that we go through that helps you assess what the criteria should be for this particular decisions. And that gets rid of a lot of the decisions that people are spending their time and energy on that they don't need to be. So yeah, think about how much time you can save if you're making decisions just like this and not second guessing them. It's life-changing. Yeah, so know that he's going to work out because I actually went into his energy, right? She's actually opening up 3 more product lines. She's brought in about 5 brand new clients that are very high value. And this was a turn combining that intuition and mind, and it's changing her experience. Okay. What about, I'm going to move us again. What about liking yourself? So how many people recognize that when they walk into a room sometime, or they deal with a particular person, or they're in certain situations, that they feel eroded, deflated, even defeated? Do you have experiences that you can think of that it could be, like I said, a particular person, a particular circumstance, or a particular environment? Yeah, right? 100%. So here's the reality. Energy is everywhere. We experience it regardless of us knowing about it or not. And so allowing ourselves to have interactions that we recognize that we're not even conscious of. So Tammy said it when we first got on today. Tammy and I met, instant fangirl, right? Like each one of us. And by the way, can I just tell them, we had a 20-minute conversation over 6 months ago. That's it. We knew we were going to do something together. We had no idea what it was going to be. We knew this is the first of many, I'm sure, right? And we had scheduling issues, whatever, no worries. We were both committed to making this work. Who knows why? Right? We have a lot in common. We have a lot that's not in common. Our energies just met and matched, right? So there's something underneath the covers. There are many people that you meet that you're like, you first see them and you're like, again, you're going the instinct, you're like, oh, nope. But yet you might have to work with them. They might be someone that someone else hired, or part of your team, or your boss. So knowing how your energy works is really important, because when you have more insight into that, you will be able to do the things that you want to be doing, even without eroding your energy. So at the end, I'm going to tell you, we have a quiz that tells you what your energetic type is. We call it the intuitive type quiz. So for those of you who are thinking, well, I didn't feel that yes or that no, or she's talking about energy, she's cuckoo, I don't know about this, right? Even though she's showing us all these facts and all these stories, that things that work, I'm not really sold. Take the quiz, it's free. You will get information on how your energy works, on how you can step into your intuition that are very practical so that you can start using this. Because let's go through an exercise right now. All right. What I want you to do is I want you to, again, go into your energy, and I want you to take a deep breath. And I want you to think about a situation that lifts you up.
A situation that what?
Lifts you up. Like
Lifts
it could be kids, it could be go to the beach, it could be anything. It could be something that lifts you up, that gives you, makes you feel inspired. It makes you feel really good. And just kind of fill yourself with that energy. Take a deep breath, and you can literally, and you could do it, people do it as a gratitude exercise. You can totally do that. Something that you're thankful for, something that you feel really good about. I want you to fill yourself up with it. I want you to literally imagine yourself in that. It could be a vacation. It could be with someone that you absolutely adore, and fill yourself up and feel how your energy feels. It feels good, right? It feels good to be filled up. Now imagine doing that right before you have to walk into a circumstance that typically makes you feel deflated. Took us, 30 seconds maybe to do that? Tammy, your face is like, I wonder what I think about this.
I'm in my scuba diving happy place. So yeah.
All right, you're just okay, good. Because I saw the smile, so I was like, wondering where you are.
As long as I'm in the fish tank, I'm a happy girl. So yeah.
Okay, perfect. I love that. Right. So, okay. So, but imagine that. Imagine bringing that energy in to something that you might feel a little bit nervous about. You have trepidation. It might be something that you're asking of somebody. It might be, again, like I said, a person who you just don't jive with. But imagine doing this before you go into those circumstances. Start out in a better position than you may be in had you not done that. If you go in tired, if you go in nervous, if you go in a little bit scared, right? So that's where this is really important to understand how to work with, yourself, right? Another part of this is I'm going to talk about leadership positions a little bit. So I just want to do a little bit of practical conversation, just looking at the time. There's the ability sometimes when you think about this, you walk in with your boss. He or she typically is the leader and you're not feeling like the leader, right? But what if it's your meeting, or what if it's your review, or what if it's your ask and you're going in to ask something? You want to put yourself into that leadership role, even if you're not given it formally. So you can actually do this where you envision yourself as the leader. I am going to direct the conversation. I am going to set the intention for what it is I am looking for. I am going to predetermine the results that I am seeking. And you diagram it out. Remember I said we did intuitive plus practical, right? Going into the things that are fraught for you, where you're, I'm going to say intimidated sometimes. Having a full plan filled with intention and filling yourself up energetically is going to change the entire experience. Who believes that? Yay. All right, I'm getting some hands. All right, good.
I also think playing your theme song that makes you so happy you want to dance right before a big event is also a good way to get yourself fired up too, right?
Absolutely. So. Yep, you can do that. Yep, absolutely. I love that too. Yeah, but this is where you're giving yourself, it's like you're taking care of yourself. That's like the like exercise. It's all about taking care of you before you go into a situation. And even during the situation. How many people can say they're at a family gathering and they're like, oh my God, when is it going to end? Yeah, we have tips by Intuitive Type for that too, by the way. And it super helps. We get tons of fan mail about that because it's like, oh my God, you saved me. It's the first, American Thanksgiving that I've ever enjoyed. Yeah, because this is real. So just wanted to just leave you with that. And then from a trust perspective, this is where you want to attract what it is that you're looking for, right? And so when you feel valued and you really know your value, I am worth this. And it doesn't all have to be monetary, right? It could be respect. It could be flexibility. It could be freedom. It could be ease. It could be ability to be heard. That is really a game changer for you, because then you're able to recognize the ways that you want to accept being supported, and you're willing to accept being supported, and you're able to seek those opportunities that you're looking to seek. So I love this exercise. It's the yes and yes but exercise. How many times, and be honest with yourself, how many times do you say yes to something and it only lasts a minute, and then you start talking yourself out of it? Happens all the time. And I call it yes but. The mind, especially around growth, right? So think about this. You're in Tammy's group. You are looking to maximize your potential in career, right? You're looking to have the best career that you possibly can have that's aligned with you. So you're going to be doing things that feel edgy and uncomfortable and push the limits, right? And so what if you recognize that your mind is actually working against you on this, because the mind cannot handle growth. You have to talk your mind into it. That's where mantras come in and affirmations come in and listening to the songs and doing all the things and learning new things come in, right? Because then your mind says, oh, okay, I can accept that. So recognizing that when you say yes, this is where you can feel it, like feel it and ask your instinct, is it a yes? Because if that still holds true for even another second, then you want to find a way to say yes. So then you can start asking your mind, well, how can I say yes? What would make this possible? How can I experience growth? Why am I wearing my value? How can I accept support? Like if you start asking questions, your mind will find answers to the questions that you're asking. That's how you can expand and allow your mind to say yes to that. Your mind hates growth. It is not your friend in the growth scenario. So, but also notice, like if you say yes and it's true, oh, but I don't have any time. Oh, I don't have any money. Oh, I'm not going to be supported. Oh, I'm not going to be able to figure this out. I mean, literally, there's always a reason to say no. There's always a reason to say no. So this really works when you start asking questions and being open to have that possibility be true. I think I only have like one more slide left. Yeah, I just have a recap slide here. So when you, I'm just going to move us around here. So when you know yourself, that's where you can create calm and certainty and decisiveness, being aligned with your purpose and being fully engaged and being able to shine your brilliance. Instead of feeling that imposter syndrome that we now know 75% of female executives feel. When you like yourself, that's where you're connected and you're satisfied and you're energized and inspired. You can really step into leadership instead of feeling powerless. And then trusting, that's where really that growth and that prosperity and being valued and being really fully appreciated, instead of look at this poor person underneath his computer, right? So we just have one more slide, because these are difficult questions, right? All the things we set up are difficult. So we have a quiz that you can take that goes through your intuitive type, and I've shown you the results. When you take them, it's 12 questions. It's at knowyourlifequiz.com. And you can get, this is a type of creative superstar. You'll get this purple placard right as a download. And then in your email, you're going to get a further report. And oh, by the way, guess what? The funnel that you enter, we just give you more gifts. And then we say, gee, if you want to join a free group, you can. So this is not a sell, guys. And then you can, and this is because of Tammy, because we fell in love with each other the first minute. So connection calls with me, I do not give these away. We're giving away 10 of them. If anybody wants to come in, I will gift you with a call. I am a high value person. This is $1,000 value for the 20 minutes we're going to be together. And go ahead and book a call with me. My admin already set up. There's 10 of them out there. They're within the next 2 weeks. So that's our gift to you.
Excellent. And thank you for giving those gifts away. I appreciate that. There's a really good question though. Is there a something we should practice for the yes and yes but?
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to stop share right here.
Great.
So I can see, I like seeing people's faces. So, so yes, the yes and, okay, really knowing how your mind works and how it can collapse on itself is the first step. So what is the pattern that you have when you say yes and then the but? Is somebody willing, the person who asked the question, they willing to disclose?
Oh, yeah, it was on the chat. It was Christina. Yep.
Oh, Christina. Okay. Oh, it's Christina. Hi, Christina. Okay. So what does your mind typically do? Because it says you're like, yes, but.
It does both things. Sometimes it's the yes and sometimes it's the yes but, probably more yes but.
Yep.
And I'll feel really powerful in one moment. And then, as you mentioned, slowly start thinking about all the challenges and why did I really think I could do that thing? And
the negative,
just kind of,
right. Yeah. Okay. What about those questions that I posed just now? Would any one of those questions kind of pop out at you to ask yourself, like to say to yourself, like, okay, but what if this is possible? What if I am right? How can this be a yes? How can I make this work?
So the practice then is to just begin to ask myself those questions in those moments when I feel myself starting to backslide.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
because I love that strategy, Kim, because whenever you're saying no to something, right? Like you said before, not enough money, not enough time, not enough support, not enough anything, then it's like, how do I find the time?
Right.
How do I find the money? Where do I find the support from? And it's just a completely different way to really step into the things that we really want for ourselves. And, I think the concept, one of the things that you said was interesting is that, your mind hates growth. And so it's going to do all it can to just say, I call it like giving a cat a bath, right? This cute little furry thing develops like 19 legs and claws and fangs as soon as you get it near water. And that's kind of how we are. We want the growth, but we don't always, when it's game time, we don't want to do the work. And so I love the way we ask those questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So Christina, the biggest thing is to keep asking questions because the mind will find an answer, but no, you can literally, all of a sudden you start ratcheting it out.
Yeah.
And then you find a way. Okay. And yes, I'm willing to, I gave you the deck. You guys can give that deck out if you want.
Yeah, and what we'll do is you guys will get a replay of the session plus all the links to all the things. That way you'll have access to that tomorrow. Kelly will make sure that gets out to everyone. She's already popping in some links now if you want to get a head start on those 10 sessions. The other thing that you'll get a link for is, and before you open it up for Q&A, so start thinking about your questions because we're going to open it up in just a second. We are running our 5 days to shift your career into high gear challenge one more time this year. There's a few people here who have done it. And essentially, if you are thinking that whatever you do is not serving you, but you have no idea what would, and you're like, all right, I'm too old. I should have this figured out by now. And all of the inner headspace that we get into, we have a 5-day challenge that's starting on Monday. It's free. We go live every single night to take you from, I need to do something else, but I don't know what it is, to having a better line of sight into what will serve you and where you should possibly think in terms of a career change, because everybody should love every Monday. And if you don't, then there is a path forward. So you'll also, I think Kelly might be, will pop that up there as well. So you can take a look and check it out, but register for that because we start on Monday and it is just a big epic week of transformation and skills that you can take away forever. So Kim, I took away so many amazing things from this conversation. And the one question I have, and then we'll open it up for other people that have questions, is what's the difference between instinct and intuition?
Yeah. So instinct is going to be a body response. Okay. Instinct, you're going to get that spidey sense. Intuition is more nuanced than that. So as nuanced as that instinct was, intuition is even more nuanced. Intuition is like a nudge. It's an inkling. It's a whisper. So this is why people say you want to create quiet time and space for you, because your mind is taking up all the volume in the world, right? We think about all the things we do for our mind. We do all these things for our mind. And when our mind's like, blah, 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 right? That's not intuition. Your intuition needs to have a moment of pause. So think about, do you walk your dog in the morning? Do you like to exercise? Do you in the shower, ever notice how many epiphanies you get in the shower? It's because you're doing something else and your intuition sneaks in there and it just grabs you for the nanosecond. You're like, oh my God, it's the best idea, right? Thanks. So take a lot of showers. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. The other thing you can do is you can do something that you really love. So if you like to draw or knit or not reading really, it has to be less of a mental exercise. It's more with your hands. That allows your intuition to get a little bit of play too. And what you can do is you can pose a question. You can pose a question.
I do that before bedtime if I'm struggling with something. I'll just ask a question 4 or 5 times before I nod off, and more times than not, I'll get the answer in the morning.
Exactly. And that was the other thing I was going to say, is because the intuition sneaks in at night. So because think about it, you're sleeping, right? So if you pose an intention or a question at night, a lot of times you'll have that answer in the morning. And then it's right when you wake up, you can be like, okay, what's my answer? And I'll just
journal for the first 30 minutes trying to figure out what's in there. Yeah.
It's going to sneak in. It's going to slide right in because it has to find time around your mind. So the more you can do to help ease your mind chatter, the more you're going to be getting into your heart space, the more you're going to be getting into your intuition.
Right.
There are tools to use too. There's someone asked about, is there a specific trust exercise that you can practice? What I like to do is talk to people about all those times they said yes to themselves and it seemed to defy logic and how it worked out. Journal on that, reflect on that, really step into that, because that is giving you the remembrance that you've done this before. This isn't new. You've all done this before. And then it can give you the, oh, you know what? I've been right a lot of the time when I followed. Like that really worked out. What if I did that this time?
Excellent.
What if it does work out?
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So who has questions for Kim? We've got a few minutes left and I'm sure I'm not the only one with a million questions. So who wants to get us kicked off today?
Everybody's being quiet.
I have no problem giving people space to think for a minute.
Yep.
All right. Okay. And I didn't say anything else in the chat window. Did you, Kelly, that we haven't tied off on yet?
Yeah.
We got them all, right?
Yep.
Okay. So one last thing, because I would not ask this if you were not here, but what do the stars say about this week? What should we be doing?
Oh, I love this. Okay, this week that we're in right now is actually a really excellent week. What I've told people is that sleep is overrated this week, just for this week, because that's not a good thing in the long term, but do the things that you've wanted to do that it hasn't been really a good time for, because it's been a mixed bag for a while. This is an excellent week. If you want to make that ask, if you want to make that connection, if you want to level up in any way, shape, or form, this week is an excellent week. I will say there's a beautiful energy opening at the end of July that we're preparing everyone for. We just did this beautiful solstice meditation for doing a prosperity cleanse and to manifest prosperity. So you might want to catch us on Facebook. We do these tips on Insta twice a week. We do these tips in LinkedIn once a week. We will always tell you in a minute or less what's going on with the energies. So if you want to know, just pop in. It's Kim E. Woods on LinkedIn and it's Kim Woods channel everywhere else. It doesn't take a lot of time. It's a quick video, but yes, because guess what? The stars are never wrong.
Okay. All right. Any other questions last minute before we wrap up for the day? All right. This has been fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. In 3 weeks, our next guest is all about stress relief. So she is a stress management expert. So we're expecting a packed house because obviously that resonates with all of us, right? In terms of how to manage that and how to get that back in control. So it was great seeing you guys. Thanks for being so active on the chat window, and we'll see you again in a couple weeks. Make sure you check out Kim's offers and join us on the challenge that we've got going on. So we'll see you guys in our respective communities over the next couple weeks. Thanks everyone. Take care.
Thanks for being here.
Pleasure, Kim. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
All right.